A successful business doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work, dedication, and persistence, which is exactly what the Coffee and Hustle podcast is all about. Hello, and welcome to the Coffee and Hustle podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the Director of Operations. I am Carla Stiles with Designed by Carla, and joining me on this podcast is Joe. And Joe is going to pronounce his last name for me because it's a very unique name, but he is the Director of Operations for Muscle Up Movers. Welcome to our podcast, Joe.
Thank you, Carla, for having me. And to pronounce that amazing large last name is Ajdarodini.
I love it. So would you give us some insights and highlights of Muscle Up Movers, and why do you use the slogan, we have the muscle to move you?
Yeah, so I started the company in 2013 out of a gym and out of a need, because I needed to move my 5-bedroom house into another 5-bedroom house. And I owned a few gyms, and I was a mortgage banker, and I bought and sold a house. And when I called all the companies in town to move a 5-bedroom house was about $4,000. And I was like, that's a lot of money to pick up furniture when I own a few gyms, and I train a few bodybuilders, and I train a few powerlifters, and they love to lift, and they lift all day long without pay. I was like, how about I just pay all these guys that are paying me to train them and have them move my furniture? So I called all the guys at the gym, and I got about 9 guys show up on my moving day, paid them all $20 an hour, rented a U-Haul, and basically saved over $3,000 to move my 5-bedroom house into a 5-bedroom house. And all the guys I paid $20 an hour were like, wow, this is amazing. This is a lot better than what Applebee's is paying me. This is a lot better what I'm making at GNC. This is a lot better than I'm making at the front desk of the gym, $8 an hour back then.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we do this again? I enjoy lifting furniture. It's part of my exercise regimen. Let's do this. And I was like, well, yeah, since I'm a mortgage banker and I'm in front of people buying and selling houses all day long, as I do their mortgage loan, I'll get some business cards, and we'll call ourselves Muscled Up Movers, and we'll just do it on the weekends. So 2013, we did my move. It was September of 13. And then we did 19 other moves after that in the year of 13. And it was just a hobby. I would go with them because I love working out. I've been working out for 25 years probably.
Yeah, because I think that I do want to talk about your background, because it's very interesting where that has led you to hit today. You were born and raised here in Huntsville.
Yeah.
You went to school here. What school did you go to?
Started Challenger Elementary the first year it was established, born, built. Went to Challenger, and then graduated from Grissom 2001.
Oh, so you're Grissom. Nice. So were you in, when you were in school, were you into sports? So you're very competitive.
Oh, yeah. I was a football star. My freshman year, they allowed me to play freshman football, and they even allowed me on the senior team. And then my sophomore year and my junior year, I was known as the quarterback killer. I was a nose guard. And my junior year, my 11th grade year, there was weight classes. And if you could bench press or deadlift or squat 250 pounds, you got a shirt that said you were part of the 250 club. If you could do 275, you were part of the 275 club. Well, me and one other guy, we created our own club our 11th grade year, and that was the 315 club. And they didn't even have the t-shirts because no one in high school was that strong to bench press and deadlift and squat 315. So I was part of the 315 club, just 2 guys. And I actually had a football scholarship my junior year to play for Troy, a full-paid college scholarship. But senior year, tore my ACL.
Oh, wow.
Had surgery.
Oh, no.
Had crutches. Still on the football team. And instead of practicing every day, they said, hey, just go work out in our gym since you can't really do nothing on the field. So my senior year, I developed my upper body, got out of high school, decided to do a bodybuilding show since I was all chiseled and ripped and everything. And I got Teen Huntsville. And then a few months later, I decided to do another bodybuilding show and got Teen Alabama at 18. And then at 19, I was like, why not try it again? So I got Teen Huntsville again at 19 and Teen Alabama again at 19 again.
So you started doing bodybuilding, and you did this for almost 16 years?
Yes, 16 years. From
16 years.
to 2016.
That's insane. And so you had a special routine.
Mm-hmm.
You woke up every day thinking, eating, drinking, working out, right?
Yeah.
So what was your normal, like, let me get up. What did you eat?
Well,
what was the first thing you ate?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like pop open some eggs and put them in a blender and drink those?
I never did the Rocky Balboa stuff.
I was going to ask you, do you do the rock workout?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, oatmeal, really?
Yeah, that was what, so I probably had about 7 or 8 personal trainers in my 16 years, because I always rely on someone to judge me and dictate me and criticize me, because we're not really the best at judging ourselves. So you have to hire someone for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So as a personal trainer, I was a personal trainer for many, but I still hired my own personal trainers to push the limits, get 10 more reps out of me when you wanted to quit, kind of thing, and looked for people to inspire me. So that's what I look to do today, to inspire others.
That's great. And you went from bodybuilding into being a mortgage... And you
mortgage
went banker.
Yeah.
And so that's the two different types of businesses here. So the bodybuilding was sustainable, right? You made some money off of that?
No, never.
You never made money off the body. So that was kind of
broke.
So you basically did it
as a hobby,
and then you know you had to pay the bills.
Well, at 18 and 19, so I had a red Firebird convertible, and I was teen Alabama, teen Huntsville, so of course a great looking body at a young age and a great looking car. It made being young really fun, that made sense. It was easy with the lady, so, and it just is that momentum and that encouragement, and it's exciting to be on stage and 1,000 people clap when you're almost naked and you got first place. It's just a good rush, it's a good feeling. It's adrenaline. College wasn't going to be my thing, so I wasn't going to walk across a college stage, but I walked across 38 bodybuilding stages, and that felt really good. That energy, that momentum, that encouragement. I was in the Huntsville Times plenty of times. I was on MTV once.
Wow. Okay.
Back when MTV was
popular,
cool thing.
when it was down in Panama City and stuff.
So it was they came to Huntsville. It was 2008. I was going for Mr. Huntsville, and I did get Mr. Huntsville 2008, but it was one of those, I want to become a bodybuilder, and there was a kid in Huntsville that was like brand new, young, and he wanted to be a bodybuilder, and he was like, brand new, real green, didn't have a lot of potential, but he was on the show, and they showed him, but they showed me as the massive winner, Mr. Huntsville. This is what a bodybuilder should look like, and this is our kid that is trying to be a bodybuilder. So and that was aired on MTV probably like 200-300 times, and people called me for like 4 years. I just saw you on MTV. So bodybuilding was such a great thing that enlightened me. It gave me a lot of encouragement and confidence. And as humans, we all lack confidence, and we're demons on ourselves. So bodybuilding was really my therapy, and it still is today. Every day I still wake up and
So do you guys, okay, so going back to that, you do that. So do you guys work out here? Do you have your own gym here?
I do. I have a 4,000 square foot gym here for the guys. I purposely work out here a few days a week, but I kind of go, I'm more of the kind of guy that needs my therapy. I need my blinders.
You need your own space.
I need my own space. It's like, it's me and the iron and me. And when I come to the office, there's priorities, there's responsibilities, and there's things that need to be done. So I've always told people, don't work out at home, because you have your laundry, and you have your TV, and you have your refrigerator, and your to-do list, and your dishes.
There's always an excuse not to do it.
Your home should be your safe haven.
Yeah, and so for you, it's like when you come here, you have to separate your business from what you normally would do. Right. Do you work out because you want to be encouraging for the guys?
Exactly.
Be that motivation.
Yeah, I want to sweat with them in the office, in the gym, and on every other Friday or so, I still go out on moves, just to show them I can still pick up dressers and mattresses and gun safes and hot tubs, because I got 50 guys here, and they all get excited. Oh, boss is going to move with us today. Yeah, that's like their greatest triumph. They love that,
and that's a great leader aspect about you too, because you're not just behind the desk expecting them to do it. You're in front of them going, yes, I can still do this too, right? So that kind of gets that encouragement aspect. That's a great feeling to have in your business. So are you so you went from a mortgage banker,
so I got into mortgage banking,
and then you went into real estate.
So out of high school, I didn't really want to do nothing but bodybuild, and my dad knew that, so he had a mortgage office, and he had a real estate office, and he had a construction office where he built houses, he sold houses, and he financed the houses. And he was like, how am I going to get my son to work for me? And he wasn't. He literally wasn't. I went months and months and months, did nothing but work out. And he got a bright idea. He's like, I'll hire his girlfriend. So when my girlfriend worked at his office, guess where I wanted to be?
You wanted to go to the office.
So
that's a very tricky way of doing things.
So he got me into mortgage banking. And it was easy, good, fun money. We would pull credit reports. We would approve home loans. And this was 2001 to 2006 when everyone got a home loan. You just needed a signature and a pulse and you got a home loan. And I went into it basically to see my girlfriend at the office, and my dad said he'd pay me to be there. And I was like, all right, that's cool. But I saw some creativeness of going through people's files, going through credit reports, going through bank statements. Yeah, I can give you $200,000 to buy a house. And that was a good feeling, and I got paid to do that. So it was really fun. It was really convenient because I sat at a desk, which a microwave was nearby. And as a bodybuilder, I had to eat every 2 hours. So a lot of jobs don't allow you to sit and eat all day long. But as a mortgage banker working for my dad, I was able to. So it was really nice. So it was.
So you had the balance of the two. So you got to do the things that you really loved, and you were able to make the money on the side, to pay the bills and stuff, and you were able to do the things you want to do. What a dream, right? Yeah. Then you got into real estate?
I did. So 2006, I was able to get my real estate license and still be a mortgage banker. So then I started selling houses and financing houses. But in 2009, the laws did change. So I did expire my real estate license. And I stayed with banking because I could sit at a desk and eat all day and not have to travel as much. Because as a realtor, you got to be in your car, you got to show houses, you got to show 15, 20 houses, that kind of thing.
And you got to be on time.
You got to be on time.
Yeah,
and
people going to call you the last minute and go, hey, I need you to be here. And you're like, I got to be there. And then that's a disruption, right?
It is, because I would tell them, well, I got to eat first, and then I'll...
I'm sorry, but I got to
eat. So eating was a big priority for me growing up because I always ate about every 2 hours. For years and years and years, I lived at 9,000 calories a day.
Where did this competitive mindset start for you? Where did it start? Do you realize how far back it started?
So as a kid between 6 and 10, I was morbidly obese. And it was painful. And my clothes had to be special made. And I was picked on. And it bruised me on the outside and on the inside. And to be morbidly obese was hard as a kid. And it still bothers me. Sometimes I see myself as that kid, I guess.
Is it hard to look in the mirror sometimes and recognize the person and you still see the kid inside you? Yeah. So as a couch potato, eating a lot of potato chips, somehow I started watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, the Rocky Balboas. My office is full of encouragement. So I grew up between 10 to 15 idolizing Arnold and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone and all those great action figures. Yeah. And so I wanted to become an action figure, if that made sense. Yeah. And it's funny because when my son started going to school and all his buddies, and the reason I got that is the teachers would say they look at you like that because you look like an action figure. And I'm like, oh, that's super nice. Yeah. So, yeah, it got me, it took me from one dark place to a very bright place. Yeah. Well, I think that when we're young, right, we tell our stories and we all know from the things that we've been through. If we're here today, we can look back and go, wow, we could have gone a different direction. You kind of took something that was deep inside you and turned it into something more positive, and now look at you today. So do you sit back and go, wow, I can't believe I'm here? Every day, every morning. Do you feel blessed with that? I pray probably 15 times a day, and I thank God, wow, thank you so much for everything you gave me. Yeah, I think that's such a great feeling to know that you made it this far and you're continuing success, and here you are. I was going to ask you, because when I look at you and I look at some of the stories, I'm thinking, gosh, did you watch wrestling when you were a kid? Yeah. Right? Back in the 80s. For sure, Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair. Woo! So, I mean, because when I think about that, like Hulk Hogan and all those things, I think back, because when we were kids, remember we would watch it after the news, I think it was come on. They put the ring up and we watched Stretch Armstrong and that crew. Sure. So when you're young, we're impressionable. So I think that probably was something that you kind of pulled from, right. Down deep, you recognized it, right? So that's a good thing to know that you've come through that. Yeah. So you're now this great leader. So do you feel like you have to be somewhat of a leader to your own team like that? Every day.
I think we're all sense of leaders and followers. I still follow so many people, and I read so many biographies. I've been reading Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and some Richard Branson's.
Richard Branson's amazing.
Yeah. And some Elon Musk and everything else, because those are some people that are creating new industries and done so much in their industry. So I'm still a follower, so I can be a leader, and I'm a leader so that I can be a follower. I have 3.
Even if you're running a business, we have to have someone to look up to all the time, because there's always self-doubt. Self-doubt always lingers somewhere behind our brain, somewhere going, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Did I say this wrong? Did I do something wrong today? There's parts of us that always and then, so those people that we look up to is really a guy for you. Who is that inspiration for you?
Arnold. I've read probably all his books and know everything about him. He came from a third world country. Their restroom was 25 feet from the house, so they had to travel to go use the restroom. And the local store was 10 miles up the road. So life for Arnold growing up was so humble and so poor. And that guy came from a third world country out of a passion to better himself, to become one of the best influencers in America's time. I mean, if Arnold never became the person he would, no one could pronounce Schwarzenegger. That's not an easy name. Neither
is someone else's last name in this podcast.
Exactly. So, one of my dreams was maybe Ajdarodini could be a household name kind of thing, as well as Schwarzenegger. But, he did hundreds of billions of movies, and he still does movies, and he became the governor of California at a pay rate of $1 because it would be against the law for him not to take a pay rate. And Arnold didn't want to be a governor for pay. He wanted to do it to make a difference. So he signed up, and he got $1 a year to be the governor of California.
Is that why you're so involved in the community?
Yeah.
Because you're so embedded into your local community. You are. There's probably not something I'm not seeing with your logo on it. Is that what was the first? Let me go back to that. What was the first community involvement were you actually that you can say that you started with?
Ability Plus special need children. Yeah, I sponsored a lot of their stuff, and I still always will. As a kid, since I was obese, I also suffer from dyslexia really bad. And I still do, but I'm just able to manage it. But as a kid, not only was I obese, but I couldn't read and I couldn't speak.
Okay.
My dad was Iranian, and as an Iranian father, I had an Iranian accent. I couldn't speak English. So I couldn't speak English, I couldn't read, and I was morbidly obese. So I was put in the special need classes.
Yeah.
And I know God has done wonders with me. And wonders with the people around me. So I think it takes people like me, you, and everyone else to allow God's gift in those kids that are still special, that were born with handicaps, whether if it's something in their body that's a handicap, or something in their mind that's a handicap, or something that we label as a handicap, because I think those kids are just as special as all of us. So when it comes to a special need kid, it doesn't touch me like anything else does. So,
well, I can tell you that growing up, I was put into slow classes because I didn't even know my colors at the time. And when you think about that, when I look back at when you're young, they don't have the classes they have today.
Sure.
They didn't have the education set up the way they give us the, because back then we didn't go to kindergarten. It was right into first grade. And I do remember putting in special classes, slow classes, because I wasn't reading well, and people would pick on me. I was bullied a lot. So when you take those stories that make us, because that makes us human, right? But the thing is that when people see you, the exterior of you, now they look at you, they don't realize what you've been through to get here today.
Sure. And I think the most successful people came from the most struggle. Just like Sylvester Stallone, his story, he didn't make it till he got in his late 30s, but he struggled for 30 years. I heard something the other day, Denzel Washington didn't make it till he was about 52. I mean, imagine being 52 and hitting the pinnacle of your career.
Right.
Most people hope by the time I'm 30, I'll have my life together.
Well, it's because people think that the success starts at a very young age, when you don't realize that success can be at any age.
Sure.
You can be 50 and start a business. You could be 80 and have a movie develop. You know what I mean? So you don't have to give up on your dream. You just have to pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with sometimes is that we feel like there's a wall that holds us back, but and eventually we have to climb over it, or we just let the wall take us over. And I think that it's a mindset.
Sure.
It really is a mindset, and it's our responsibilities as leaders to recognize those that are struggling, because you could see people. I know you meet a lot of people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when you meet a lot of people, you know instantly if that person needs your guide or leadership. Do you recognize that quickly?
I do. I love reading people, whether it's their body language or their facial expressions or their tone or their text or their temper or anything else, because I think we're all a quality of our surroundings. And I love to read people because I think you can actually learn more about people from reading them than actually listening to them, if that makes sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The way they hold themselves, the way they bring themselves. And nothing enlightens me more to see somebody that's in need and they just don't know where to go. Because I think all of us have a desire or a need or something that we're wishing or hoping for, but we just don't have that direction. And most people are just too afraid to ask for help.
A lot of times it's those small voices that don't speak the loudest. Well, I mean, I think that because you're part of the community, what is one of your favorite charities that you work with right now?
The Boys and Girls Club, as well as, why is it on the tip of my tongue? I can't, the Lee Marshall.
The Lee Marshall, now you started that, and I can't even think of it now, but I know what you're talking about, the Lee Marshall.
The kids' house, the children. I did an annual backpack drive for 4 years.
Kids to Love.
Kids to Love, yes. I would always, and I worked with my local church, which was Willowbrook Baptist. We did a kids drive, a backpack drive there 4 years in a row until the COVID hit, and we haven't done it since then. So I just jumped on other people's bandwagons instead of actually have my own. But I love giving back to kids. I have 3 beautiful kids, and I always make sure that I treat them as well as the other kids all the same.
Right. Do you feel like that you've become a leader for your own children and guide for them too? Or
so no.
I mean, yeah, is it different now?
So
when the roles are changed?
Absolutely. So funny story, when I was growing up and I was a personal trainer and I was Mr. Alabama, Mr. Huntsville, and owned a few gyms and a mortgage banker, I trained a lot of people. Probably in my career, I probably trained 300 people in the gym. A majority of those people I trained and I enjoyed training the most was teenage boys. And I've done a lot of speaking for boys. But teenage boys have the worst misdirection, if you want to call it that. And parents would hire me not just to train them to get them to an athlete, but to actually help them with their mindset and their direction away from sin or distractions. So children never want to listen to their parents. And I've known that for years because I always train kids to encourage them because I wasn't their father or parent figure. And I've learned that with my own kids. My son, which is 13, I've hired his own basketball coach. I've hired his own personal trainer. I've hired his own football coach. As much as I could fill that position for him, kids aren't looking for an authority figure in their parents. And that's hard to say that, but it's true. Kids are looking for that attention and that love. They don't want direction from parents. They just don't. And so I outsource that for my kids because I already know up front. I've tried it with my son. I've tried it with my son, and I've tried it with my son, and I found out it works better for an individual to hear it from a third party. You know, so I've come to my own and say, you know what, I can train other kids, I can't train my own son.
Yeah, and I think that knowing that you know that, that makes a huge difference, and your relationship probably is different too.
Much better,
right?
Much better.
So that's healthy. And so, do you know, like when you talk about team motivation and stuff, is there anything that what do you normally do to help your team motivate?
So it kind of,
you have a ritual?
I do. I have a morning ritual every morning. I listen to books and podcasts and motivational information while I work out every morning. I do about a 90-minute exercise, and I take a portion of that every morning during my exercise and during my prayers and during my shower, and I bring that into a morning huddle. Every morning at Muscle Up Movers, we do a morning huddle. 8 o'clock is a huddle. It's about 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes longer, but Stories sell, facts tell. And my preacher is great with stories, so I try to incorporate stories. And I start out every huddle with a cool story to grab their attention, to put a smile on their face, to get their heart pumping or their blood boiling, whichever way you want to pull their attention. And then I go into something that we need to look at Muscled Up Movers, whether it's showing up on time or calling your customers or making sure you do this or making sure you don't forget that, because every morning as an owner, as a motivator, it's our job to be the broken record for our team. I have a team of 50 guys. And every morning we do a huddle. I was raised in football, so I kind of raised my guys with a football mentality. And you don't go to the football field without doing a huddle. Yeah. You don't start a play without doing a huddle.
So you're the cheerleader.
I'm the massive cheerleader.
You're like the coach / cheerleader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's good because you've seen a lot of changes here in Huntsville.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah.
I remember when Parkway was 2 lanes.
Right.
And one university was 2 lanes. And Bailey Cove was a dirt road.
Right. So how do you feel about the changes that are here, that are coming? Or do you feel, it's kind of like the pluses and the minuses with it? No,
I think it's great. I always told myself about 10 years ago I'd never relocate my family because I like Huntsville's a small town. Now Huntsville's not a small town. And I don't think I would relocate my kids. I'm looking at breaking ground in Nashville with another office soon. But I would never relocate from Huntsville just because I know every road, I know every street, I know every person, because it's home for me, and I love that. It's a sense of security, as well as certainty. Yeah. But Huntsville's amazing that it's grown. It's just another one of God's blessings. And I think it's because of the people that Huntsville have, whether it's me or you or the mayor and the person at the gas station and the person at the grocery store, as well as the person picking up our trash. We're all great people, and we all play a part in Huntsville's growth.
So do you feel like, and knowing that it's growing, right, and you feel that way, do you feel it's like it's still a small community? Like still well connected?
We have the Southern mentality, so
don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the southern part of Alabama. I'm an LA girl. Okay. But yeah, I love Huntsville. Yeah. When we came here 6 years ago, it was, we wanted to be in the Madison area, and now we're on the outskirts. We've actually bought land, and so we're now in a little bit more of a remote area, which is great. Yeah. I can walk outside and hear the crickets, and not a whole lot of traffic except for maybe some horses coming by. Which is really nice, so I can actually have that. I'm like you. I like to have my office time, be able to spend time to work and stuff like that. So I like that separation and be able to do those things. But I know that Huntsville is a great opportunist, and do you feel like that you're so part of the community, that you're seeing a lot of things happening, but I still think we're well connected here.
I think so too. We have the Southern hospitality, if you want to call it that. My mom was born and raised here in Huntsville. My mom's blonde hair, blue eyes. My dad came over in the 70s. Iranian as they come. He still has the horrible accent. He can't speak English after 40 years in America. But he came here to look for a Southern woman. He found one,
Yeah. Well, Southern women, we're sweet people. So let me ask you this. If you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way?
I'd probably do it even more, knowing I was able to get away with it.
There's some things you'd be like, well, I could do this or do that.
Sure. I think because of hesitation, we don't do as much because we're afraid of the unknown.
You think fear holds us back?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one of our weaknesses in some aspects? We kind of like instead of looking forward, we always kind of like, okay, we're looking back a lot.
Yeah, I've owned a few gyms. I would have probably owned more gyms.
Do you still own some gyms?
No.
So you're out of the gym business, but you're in the cleaning business. So how long has the cleaning business been here?
I started Sweetheart Cleaners January of 2018 was the idea. January 2018, because every house my guys came back from, when they kept coming into the office, their clothes were completely dirty, dusty from all the stuff behind your dressers, from all the stuff underneath the bed, all the stuff hiding behind your washer and your dryer and your refrigerator. Moving is dirty and disgusting because everything that stays behind.
I'm sure y'all seen some really crazy things.
That would take
So can I ask that? What is the weirdest thing you found? Can you even say it on the mic?
I can't say that on the mic. That's not PG-13. One of the craziest situations was I used to have this manager. He was a really strong Marine, great stand-up guy, and he's all for women rights, if that makes sense. And we move a lot of divorced people. And our guys called us, this was a few years ago, our guys called us and said, hey, we're at this divorce move and this woman's being abused. What do we do? And the manager, which is a Marine, says, I'm going to be right there. I'm going to make sure she doesn't get hurt, kind of thing, right?
Right.
He shows up and it's two women going through a divorce. So that was a little bit of a unforeseen variable. Like, oh, well, you can't protect this woman without hitting this woman, kind of thing. So that was kind of
messed up the mental aspect. You were like, well, what do I do now?
Sure. So
yeah, because you had your mindset that you was going to go in to save the day.
Yeah, we
y'all were going to be Hercules.
Yeah. Moving is so fun.
So
everybody wants to do it.
Yeah, everybody wants to do it. So y'all do moving and you storage. You do storage as well. You store stuff for people.
Because a lot of times people have to sell and then they have to clean and then there's a delay in closing or there's a delay in building and it's like, where do I put my stuff for a few hours or a few days? So I call it like the hotel for furniture. We'll keep your stuff for a few nights.
You pay by the hour.
Pay by the night.
Pay
by the night. It is.
Awesome.
Sometimes we have to keep people's furniture for, ideally, well, we're going to close in 3 or 4 days. Can you hold it for 3 or 4 days? Sure. Well, closing falls through or the appraisal falls through or the home inspection. We've had to keep some people's furniture for like 21 days to 45 days. And you're like, wow, we feel sorry for these people because the bill's just going up.
It's going to be expensive.
And that's not comfortable. We don't want to take advantage of nobody. It's an expensive job.
So I have a question. Who is your biggest, besides Arnold, is there anybody else that would be you considered as an inspiration to you that motivates you?
So, yes. My father. Yeah, he... I am the person I am today because of my father, and there's good and bad in that.
There's always good and bad in dads.
Sure.
Even though mine's an inspiration, he would call me up and tell me I was hard-headed, and I was very like him, and that he was very blunt, but he was also very honest.
Yeah. As humans, we need to always be looking and listening and learning on what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, who we should be following, who we should be mirroring, and who we shouldn't be mirroring. And I learned a lot from my dad on what I should and shouldn't do, and some of that is through his failures, and some of that through his success. And I think it's just a gift that we all have certain gifts, and one of my gifts is I love reading people and learning about people and just watching from a third party, and I did that with my dad growing up, obviously. And I learned so much what to do and what not to do. Yeah. He's been a business owner since he's been here in the 70s. And he still is. Like, he's been building houses since...
Do you call him up and go, hey, Dad, I got a question?
Nope.
No, you make all your own decisions when it comes...
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. Because back then, we didn't call it entrepreneurship. It was just like, hey, just one thing led into another, and all of a sudden, you're owning a business. So you didn't really call it, you were just saying, hey, are you a business owner? So we've redefined that entrepreneurship. You created it from nothing, just as an idea. Like, hey, let's go move some furniture this weekend.
I mean, I was at that time, I was actually managing PNC Mortgage at the downtown branch, and it was a big bank, and I had a great salary, and I didn't need to go anywhere, and I didn't need any additional money. But I saw that my guys were so inspired to get money and get paid and lifting for money. Because as powerlifters and bodybuilders, you don't get paid. You don't. But they do it because they love the adrenaline. They love the compassion. It releases dopamines. It's like a drug to exercise to a brink of a point where you're exhausted. I mean, that's part of jumping out of an airplane. It gets you so riled up, So working out for a lot of guys, when they can hit that feeling, moving furniture can do the same thing, So they were getting paid to do that, and I really enjoyed helping guys. And at the same time, I found out that I'm starting to collect a lot of guys that come from different walks of life that need that maybe father figure or brother shoulder to cry on. I really feel like Most of the Movers is not a moving company. I really feel like it's a self-development company.
I was going to say, it's kind of like a leadership path of like, as some people come here, got a job here, and gone on to do better things.
Much
right?
Much amazing things.
So those steps of that improvement, you can see, you definitely can be proud about, right?
Yeah. A lot of success stories from a lot of my guys, and I run into them maybe 6 months later or 6 years later, and when they see me, they give me this huge...
Is there one that stands out?
Yeah, there's one guy that really stands out. He was a big powerlifter ugly guy, massive, deadlifting, squatting, just, one of those beastly looking guys. Nice as can be, but he just, that's all he did was powerlifting. He wasn't making any money, so he came work for me, moved furniture, but he got connected with one of the customers. And the customer he connected with was the area director of Publix shopping center. So he directed all the Publix shopping centers in North Alabama. And his name, I'll remember in a second, but him and the customer connected so well. He's like, I like you. I want you to come work for me. Mm-hmm. So he went to work at Publix, and almost immediately, somehow, with his magic stick of an area director, he made him a manager of a Publix store. And Publix is a great company to work for,
Absolutely.
the grocery store.
Absolutely.
Now, I think it's about 5 or 6 years later, he's managing the one right here on Whitesburg Airport. And I talked to him during the COVID because he would always hide the TP for me and the food and everything else.
You had a secret stash.
Yeah,
it's good to have people in those places, right?
Have a grocery clerk. In your back pocket. So,
hey, Joe, we got your stash in the back.
Yeah. But he always wanted to give me a discount too on the groceries and everything else since he manages. But he's so grateful that if he would have never met that customer that they didn't connect, he would still probably be powerlifting, not making money, or still working for me.
So you put people in the right place in the right time and connect them, and I think that's a great inspiration as a leader, that you're not keeping them here just so that you can keep them here, but you're also seeing them.
I tell all my guys, this is to develop you, whether it's for 6 months or 6 years, and when you leave here, you better be stronger mentally, your spirit better be stronger, and your wisdom better be stronger, because it's about moving smart and not moving hard, not having injuries, and that goes with a walk of life.
Yeah.
We want to go through relationships, we want to go through decades, and we want to make sure we don't get injured or beaten or bruised or scarred. So this is to develop them for their future.
I think the secret to all of it is that life is a learning experience. Okay. So I think a couple questions I've got left is like, what is one of your biggest failures?
Biggest failures? Man, I got 2 ex-wives.
There's nothing to say that's a failure.
Well, you have to own your part, and I can shift blame on them all day long, but I always shift the blame on me. What could I have done better?
Yeah.
What could I have done better? And they were all amicable divorces. They only costed $300. We both went to the courthouse with smiles. We both left the courthouse with smiles. We signed the simple paperwork there. So they were all amicable divorces. And we still talk. We're still friends. So everything's fine there. So that was a success, because most people that get divorced, they can't be in the same county.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, that was great.
You can't even say their names.
Yeah. And they wanted to keep the last name for months and months and months, and one still keeps it after 2 years now. So
I think my last question on this podcast today, and I really do appreciate your time, because literally it's just amazing how you've shared your story today in a place where I didn't expect it to go. What makes your business so special?
Our number one customers are our guys, our associates. We put them before anybody and everybody. And, there's not a lot of companies in town that says they have 65 people on payroll. Most business owners that I talk to on a regular basis can't find nobody to work for them. Well, have you looked in the mirror?
Right.
Why do they not want to work for you,
So do you feel like that people come here, there's people that are connected to come here because they know what they're going to get out of it?
Right. Yeah, everybody wants to feel a sense of belonging and hope and love and connection. And I did the first 1,000 moves with most of the movers because I didn't want anything to go wrong. So I know what these guys go through. So they bring in millions of dollars every year to this company. They bring in the millions of dollars, not the customers, not me. They literally bring the checks, or they literally bring the cash, and they bring it into our safe deposit box every day, 7 days a week. And those are the ones bringing in the millions of dollars. So I owe them millions of things.
Yeah. Well, I just want to tell you, thank you for coming on our podcast. We do another one soon. And we'll do another Coffee and Hustle pretty soon. And thank you for coming on the show.
Fantastic. Thank
you. I appreciate it.